everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Real Talk with me, Todd Nesloney, and friends. Each week, I'm going to have a real, honest, open, heartfelt conversation with different people that I've been connected with or I've found online about a variety of topics. Everything from racism in America to writing a book, educational entrepreneurs, COVID-19, and so much more. I'm really excited about this week's conversation. This is the debut episode of Real Talk with Todd Nesloney and friends, and I knew for the first episode, I had to bring on 5 of my friends and former colleagues, 5 women that I had the pleasure of working with as their principal, and each one of them has taught me so much and continues to teach me that when I thought about having this conversation, I was like, these 5 women will have some opinions, so I can definitely invite them on. And so without further ado, I want to let them introduce themselves first. So we'll start with you, Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I work at College Station ISD. I am a 5th, 6th grade science teacher.
Hi, I am Carrie Ann, and I teach 1st grade in Bryan, Texas.
Hi, I'm Katie. I teach 5th and 6th life skills in Brenham, Texas.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I teach at Navasota ISD. I am 3rd grade math and science.
And hi, I'm Jerry Williams. I am a 3rd grade self-contained Hempstead ISD.
So I have so been looking forward to this conversation ever since you 5 women agreed to have it. And I know there are a lot of opinions, a lot of emotions with teachers going back to school right now. And I know that, you 5 are all in different areas of the state. You're all at different districts, at different schools. And so when we were thinking about having this, I thought, Texas is considered a COVID hotspot right now in the United States. And the districts across our very large state are having a lot of different ways that they're starting. Some are in person, some are having in person, but you have a virtual option. Some are doing a hybrid model several days a week, and some are completely virtual. So before we even jump into kind of how we're feeling about things, I'd love to just go around the circle real quick again and tell me what your district currently, what their plan is.
So we're going to be starting in person with the option of virtual.
Okay.
We're doing in person with the option of virtual, but the upper grades, I think, can do a hybrid if they choose.
We're doing in person with the option of virtual.
We are doing the same thing in person with that option.
And as we are, the same thing, virtual and option of face-to-face.
And, I have to say before we go any further that these 5 women do come from smaller cities. None of them are in a huge metroplex like Houston or Dallas or Austin, who are making some different decisions when it comes to schooling. And so, I know that we are all very opinionated with how we feel about different things. But of course, when I think about this in general, one of the things that I want to start with before we even think about the fall is all of you had to become virtual online teachers in the spring. And it was unexpected. You jumped right into it. You all got varying different ability or different expertise with online learning. But before we even start thinking about the fall, tell me a little bit about, Olivia, I'll start with you because you do a lot of virtual stuff with VIP kids. And so what was that transition like for you initially in the spring?
So normally people think, oh, you teach online, so it's something that I will be ready for and prepared for. And I do have this set up at home, but when I do my online, it's scripted. As for when this happened, I realized I am really not trained enough, and I don't feel I've prepared my kids enough, involving enough technology in the classroom. So that was really, really difficult when this happened.
And I think that's an important point to make is, yes, as teachers, we're used to turning on a dime and having to be really flexible with our time. But teaching online is very different than teaching in person. And there's a lot of things to learn about this. And so, when we think of it from a middle school perspective, Courtney, what did you find was new or difficult or unexpected for you in the spring?
So first of all, this was my first year teaching 6th grade. So I was going at this not having a clue some of these techs that because I had never taught them before. And then College Station did it in a way that like one person wrote the lesson plans. So I was teaching somebody else's lesson plans. So that was really hard for me because I don't teach the same way that other people do. And so me taking their lessons and using them for my own kids, like it made it really difficult. So, and I'm not really very good at technology as it is. So I had to definitely learn to be flexible. Like I have become a pro at Schoology, and man, if you can ask me anything, I can make it on Google Slides now.
I love it. Well, you know, Katie, you teach life skills, and that's a whole nother realm of different when it comes to virtual teaching. So what was the transition like for you?
Yeah, it was hard. We didn't even, in the beginning, they kind of told, you know, we had that second, at first they were calling it the second week of spring break or whatever, where we didn't really know what was going on. No one knew what was going on. And then even after that week, they kind of told, like, the general ed teachers kind of had they had a stricter guideline, and we were kind of like, well, you have to figure out what's going to meet all your kids' IEP goals, but every single different kid has different IEP goals. So we had, as a SPED teacher, you kind of had to do, I had 9 kids in my class last year. I had to do like 9 different things, and some of them, a lot of them couldn't even do stuff on the internet. So I did a lot of, we do so much hand-on stuff in the classroom that I had to really, you know, I did a lot of sending different manipulatives and stuff home. I tried to do as much virtual as I could, but a lot of it was more sending stuff home rather than over the internet, because it's just, with the population that I teach, I had to be realistic in what they could do and what they couldn't.
Well, you know, I know moving into the fall, we all had different kind of opinions about what we were hoping would take place. Obviously, we were hoping. I know all of you can agree, and you can show me a thumbs up if you do agree with this, just so I'm not speaking for you. We all want to be back in normal teaching days. We all want to be back in the classroom. I think that's one thing that I want everybody to understand, is that educators, we do not want to stay at home and teach virtual. It is not fun. It is not ideal. We want to be back with kids. And like, even Katie, I can't even wrap my head around what life skills looks like virtually, because you're right, it's so independent and it's so much hands-on. But when we're thinking about the fall, before your district's announced, where were your emotions at with kind of where you were hoping things would go because of your personal circumstances? Jerry, we'll start with you.
For sure, was hoping that we would get back, because it was such stress doing it from home. And of course, I'm one of those not so good technology persons. And, you know, so all of a sudden, you know, okay, this is what you have to do. I mean, the time in which we had to learn and get it up, get your classroom set up, you know, do this and do that was really stressful. So the hope was for sure to get back into the classroom, because that's where we're going to be most effective. Doing it virtually, we had kids that never signed on to Google Classroom. You know, they didn't get it. And so we already knew we would have to make up a gap. That's going in. We knew that was a big gap we were going to have to close. So the best way to do that, of course, is going to be there with them. And so doing it virtually means you're still going to have that gap. It's going to make it harder, but I'd much rather be safe, you know, than, you know, to put myself in jeopardy, where I take care of my mom, and also to put the other kids in jeopardy.
You know, I think you brought up a really great point there, that, you know, not all of us are just living with a spouse and both of us are perfectly healthy. So, I mean, myself included, my mother-in-law lives with me, and, you know, I'm not in a school this next year, but if I were, I would be so nervous to bring something home to her. I'm not as concerned about bringing something home myself or for my wife. I mean, we're fairly healthy. We don't have any big issues, but my mother-in-law is a different story. And so, you know, Carrie Ann, you've got a little one at home too. What kind of concerns, I mean, did you want to just be like, you know what, I'm good, let's start in person? Like, how were you feeling about the fall before your district announced what they were going to do?
I was not comfortable starting in person. I mean, I was pretty vocal about wanting to start virtually. I mean, my son is 1, but he also, you know, he has tumors in his major organs. So I have to be extremely careful with him. Like, this is not something I can even entertain bringing home to him. Yeah. But I will say, as many challenges as there are to teaching virtually, it kind of makes people really assess those kids differently, because we fall back into our comfort zones in the classroom of this is how we assess them. I mean, we always talk about being creative with it, but we were forced to be creative with it with that emergency remote instruction.
Well, you know, Olivia, you have children that'll be attending 2 different schools in your district, and you'll be teaching there as well. You know, how were you hoping the fall would look like a week ago or 2 before your district announced? Were you wishing for virtual just because of the numbers, or were you kind of like, you know what, we'll make this work? And were there concerns about your daughters? I mean, what were you feeling there?
Well, I want to say my girls are my biggest concerns. I know what I'm going to do in the classroom and how I'm going to protect my students and protect myself. But like my oldest being at the junior high, not having schedules, not knowing what they're going to do. Junior high is so different. They move around to classes. She'll be in dance this year. It's really scary. And then which she's already like a germ freak and stuff, so I kind of trust her. It's Sophia, my little one, that it's really hard for her to understand because she can't see anything. So I looked at her and she was swinging her mask at the store. And so it worries me. It stresses me. And if I'm taking all these precautions and then for them to come home and we're still all going to get sick. And I will get my students sick. So it's really, really scary.
You know, Courtney, you're in a middle school setting. What is the plan for rotating classes? Like, how's that going to look?
Your guess is as good as mine, Todd.
So that hasn't been decided yet.
I mean, I know for a fact we have to add a 4th lunch because we have to space the kids out because that's the time they're going to be taking their masks off. So our whole schedule is completely changed, where first period is now going to be like a time where we sit there and we say, these are the reasons why you have to keep your mask on. These are the reasons why you have to wash your hands. These are the reasons why you have to sanitize, you know? And so it's just like a 20-minute block of explaining the importance of like being super hygienic and keeping your mask on and all of these things. But aside from that, like, I can't tell you if they're moving in pods. And I'm kind of the weirdo of the group because I don't have a team. So they can't move as teams because we have 2 split teachers. I teach every single team in the whole school because I'm a 5th, 6th grade teacher and we have a 5th, 6th grade reading teacher. So we get kids from all 4 teams, whereas everybody else just kind of rotates between. So I have no idea how it's going to work.
Well,
In that situation for us, they've decided the teachers are going to switch rooms, which I thought that was a really good idea instead of the kids leaving and for the teachers to switch out, which is a little awkward to teach in someone else's room. But I mean, it kind of is a good idea. I thought so.
I think that definitely sounds safer.
They're doing that in Brenham as well.
Well, you know, Katie, speaking of where you are, you know, you're in life skills. Those students are going to be less likely to keep a mask on or not messing with it or anything like that. It's a little more hands-on, and you've got a little one at home. Do you have any major concerns, or are you just going to face it head on? How are you kind of feeling about it all?
I have such mixed emotions because for the reasons of my students and like, I want to be there because I did not feel effective doing distance learning because it is so hands-on in life skills. And it's just, even like when I have to give I can't see what they're doing when I send stuff home because one, if parents don't send stuff back, or just, I can't see really what's going on. And so for those reasons, I was excited we're starting, you know, in school or like in person, but I'm not really scared of, for me, or like me and my husband were healthy and my son, he's healthy, but it's me. I'm more scared that I'm going to give it to somebody else. You know, so it's just, I'm excited for the reason that I feel like I can be an effective teacher again and be doing my job at my fullest capacity, but it is scary. And just thinking, like, if one person at the school gets it and then we have to go online again, everyone thrives off routine, but even more special needs kids thrive off routine, and their routine, if we have to be home for 2 weeks and then we go back to school and then we're home for 2 weeks. And that's kind of one of my main concerns is what happens if one person gets it? What are we going to do? Like,
that's a great point too, because I've thought about the routines of general ed students being disrupted, but you're exactly right. Like when a life skills student routine is disrupted, that's a lot of work lost because it is such a routine focused environment because that's where they thrive. And I hadn't even thought about that. So I'm glad you brought that up. But as you all are planning and prepping different things in your classroom, what are some unique things that you've kind of had to think outside the box to, because I know some of you in here, your districts aren't really providing much. You're having to figure it out on your own. Other people, your districts are providing certain materials and cleaning and things like that. And so I'm not going to call any districts out or anything like that. But I know that some of you five in here are very, you're very much like, I've got a plan. I'm going to be prepared. I'm not waiting on anybody. And so what are some things that you've kind of started to put in place? I'll start with you, Olivia, because I know you are Miss Cutesy organization. Like it's all there. Like what are some things that you've kind of put in place to feel safer?
Okay, so our district hasn't really said anything yet, but since I'm always ahead on everything, I've made like cubbies out of vinyl using the PVC pipe with vinyl. I saw something on Facebook and I kind of went with it, just a little bit different to the point where it would make me feel safe. I've spent a little more than I should, but it's important to feel safe. To be able to teach, to be able to feel comfortable, you got to feel comfortable. You got to feel safe. So, and then I figured when school does start and teachers do run out and try to get stuff, there might be a shortage, which I did struggle getting some of the vinyl, which I had to drive to Spring to take care of that.
And I think that's a great point that a lot of people don't realize is we can talk all day long about here's the things that should be in place, but not every school or every district has the funds to make those happen. And then as educators, we have to fund it ourselves because we don't want to go without. And so then people wonder why we're saying we don't get paid enough or why there's not enough funding to make these things happen. It's like, we're not just sitting on piles of money and like, gimme, gimme, gimme. It's like all of us pour our stuff back into our classrooms. And so Courtney, I know your dad is super Mr. Handyman. So I know he's been helping you build some stuff.
Yes, actually, both of my parents have been super helpful. My dad had PVC pipe in the backyard, luckily, because he likes to build everything. So we put together a shield for my desk. It's over 6 feet tall. And the main reason I did it is because I know that I'm going to be eating lunch in my classroom. And I just don't want, it's just extra protection because if I'm going to be eating at my desk, I want to know that no germs got back there and I feel safe. I've lost honestly a ton of sleep at night because of my anxiety over this, because I keep thinking, what if I'm that 1% that was healthy and I die from it, and I know that's sometimes a ridiculous thought, but like, I don't know until I get it. And that's what people don't think about is that, you can put us out there, but we could be the healthy ones that die and you're not going to know until you've gotten it. So anything I can
has
do
a different reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
and I know
anything I can
do with me, Courtney, that you found a little, and what I loved about this is, all of us are going to be using hand sanitizer with kids constantly, but you found a little automatic dispenser off of Amazon where they can put their hand under it and it pops out. So nobody's pressing anything down. I thought that's just a simple thing that I wouldn't have thought of, but I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah. Courtney's room is like a hospital lobby.
Listen, my brother is a doctor, so I consult him on everything I do. Like, I was like, do I need to wear a lab coat? Do I need scrubs? Do I need this? And he's like, no, if your kids are wearing masks, you're going to be fine. And I was like, hand sanitizer, this, that, do I need to put up a shield? And he was like, calm down. Like, you've got to just breathe.
Well, and
it works in the classroom itself. It's just going to, once you get in the classroom and you start setting up, you start seeing so many things that are not going to be the same. Your crayons, your glue, it's none of that. The headphones, I've had to change so much and put away. It's just not going to be the same. And I think
something that I talked to a pediatrician on a different episode of something I was doing, and she said something really interesting that I didn't know. She said, a lot of teachers right now are posting online that they're buying the face shields, the one that sit on your forehead and that you wear, because it just looks so much easier and better as a teacher. And she said at her clinic that she said, we have to wear a face shield and a mask. And she said, let me tell you, I hate the face shield. She goes, every time, she said, what you don't think about when you see these beautiful pictures online and you're like, that's what I want to go with. She goes, but you don't realize A, how uncomfortable it is. B, every time you bend your head down, that shield is down here. It hits you every single time and you're constantly knocking it up. She said, it's fogging up all the time. It's in the way. She said, I hate the face shield. And if I didn't have to wear it, I wouldn't. So I always want to say that when we talk with teachers too, like if you are debating, get one and try it out before you like go all in and buy like 100 of them, because then you don't want to be stuck with something that you hate wearing. But Jerry, in your room, do you have any ideas of anything you're putting in place to make you feel safer?
We can't even get in our room yet. So we're not even there. The other thing is, they were talking about making space. We don't know how many kids we're going to have. And, I have my big desk and credenza in there that may have to come out to make room. I mean, and I'm not in there. So it's just, my frogs.
All the frogs are gonna have to go, Jerry.
No, they're on the cabinet of the school that won't move, so it's okay.
Jerry, are you gonna put masks on all of the frogs?
No, they don't.
For those of you listening who don't know, Jerry collects frogs and loves them. And Jerry and Olivia used to work on the same team, and Olivia would give her the hardest time about how many frogs she had. So that's just a little backstory for anybody watching right now.
I will say
I'm a little. Go ahead.
Keep going, Jerry. No, you can go.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just really nervous about it because one, I'm not in the room, and usually by this time my room is set up. To not know how many kids we're gonna have, to not know where we're gonna be able to put them, and so we haven't even started to say how we're gonna separate them, what we're gonna separate them by. So that by itself. Really, to be honest, it has me a little leery in aspect of, am I willing to actually go or not go? I mean, it's that to that degree, because I have questions about we're having to quarantine 14 days. We don't get 14 days as it is, so am I going to be docked for days that I'm having to go because, you're making me go, there's nothing there.
Yeah. Carrie Ann, what have you put in place?
I haven't physically put them in my room, but I have things, and I have just face shields for the kids, some sneeze guards of my own. But luckily, my district has been really responsive to teacher requests, and they're getting like gator masks for all the kids. They're redesigning how we're walking down the hallways. They're getting sneeze guards for the classrooms. They're doing all of the PPE we need. Gloves, sanitizer. They're even going to get individual manipulatives for all of the kids so they don't have to share.
Right. Katie, when you think about your environment, is there anything you've been thinking about putting in place to kind of help you feel safer?
I actually have been thinking about, with the whole distance thing, I keep saying how it's been difficult for everyone, but life skills especially just has been so hard. But going back, one of the good things is even if all my students come, I'll only have like 6 or 7 kids. Mm-hmm. So it'll be really easy to, spread them out as it is. So that's, one of the things that also when I think about going back, I think about my classroom, and I haven't, when I sit and think about it more, then I start to think about the ones with 20 and 30 kids. But I've been thinking about mine, and I'm like, we could social distance easily as long as they're all behaving. And so that's actually something that for Fed, or at least my life skills, and with low numbers, that's been really helpful and ease on me, because I will only have 6 or 7 kids, and that's with all my kids coming. So.
Well, I want to pop something on that Julie Peters said in the comments. She said, if a student or staff member gets sick or tests positive, what's going to happen? And I think that's a great question. And what I would say is, so that we don't have to have all kinds of varying answers, what I've seen generally run across all of our districts is the same type of thing. Is they're not really giving super specific directions right now because they don't want to say anything that they then have to follow up with. But the general comments have been, if a student or staff member tests positive, positive and was in close proximity for a certain amount of time without masks or things like that, then they'll make that group quarantine for 2 weeks. And I did hear some educators concerned about we don't get 2 weeks. So I will say, Jerry, one thing that I did hear come from the government was that you can't be docked if you have to take off because of COVID. If you have a positive test and you have to be out those days, they can't take those days from you. So I did find that out for educators, which at least is good to know that that part of things are protected. But I did just want to jump in that. Now, we have somebody else in the comments who you all know, who is a teacher you worked with, Lauren Nutzler, and she said, how do you feel that this is going to affect your students basically staying in the same room with the same kids all the day? Recess may look different, lunch may look different, because, we talk about the reason we want them in school is we know that there's all this research, and we know from personal experience, school is the best place for those kids. They need the emotional time. They need the interaction with other kids. They need the hands-on. They need adults who are looking out for them and can call CPS or other issues. They need food on the daily basis that they can get at least twice a day. There are important reasons to be at school, but that doesn't negate what would happen because of COVID. And I think that talking about these things like they're mutually exclusive, like, nope, the research is there, put everybody at risk, or nope, keep everybody out because of this. I think we got to look at the whole picture and know that us as educators, we love kids. That's why we're in this. We're not wanting to put them at risk, but we want to make sure they're taken care of too. And so thinking about our schools are going to look so different. It's going to feel very enclosed, controlled, less interactive, playful. How do you think kids are going to react? We'll start with you, Olivia. How do you think it's going to be different?
I honestly have no idea how they're going to react. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for teachers and for kids. We're going to have to really go over procedures and practice and help them realize how important our safety is.
Carrie Ann, you've been really vocal about how you feel about things and what your hopes are. And I know I see how much you care about the kids too. And so what are you thinking about what it's going to be like for them emotionally to be in that environment?
I think it's going to be really hard because especially the kids that have been in school before, they already have this image of what school is in their mind. And that's the school of yesterday. That doesn't exist anymore. It's going to be kind of a slap in the face for them. It's going to be rough, but we have to put safety first. Yes, we want kids to be happy and love school, but safety has to come first.
And I got to say, one concern that I've had from the beginning of this is if it feels so military-like at the school, will learning be taking place anyway? And, I don't know the answer to that because I haven't been in the environment. So I don't want to speak one way or another about that. But that hit me the other day thinking if it's not an enjoyable place for the kids to be because of the safety precautions we're putting in, are they going to be learning anyway? And does that negate them being in a better place if it's such a emotionally there's so many unanswerable questions, but one question that I do want to ask is, there's a lot of people online who are not in education who see what we're talking about and see what we're going through and saying, if you don't like it, quit. Or saying things like, you signed up to work with kids, so you knew these things were going to be in place. The flu has existed for years and you don't ask schools to close because the flu, because the flu is happening. And so, a lot of people come with a lot of opinions and ideas when, again, I will repeat, none of us are saying that school is not the place we want to be. We all know that is the best place for education to happen. And we can't all just drop a job because of our concerns. We can't all go without a salary. Either our sole income, our spouse's income won't cover us. We have additional concerns with medical care, things like that. So Courtney, what do you say to one of those questions?
I mean, my opinion is this: we didn't get into this profession because of the money. We didn't. We did it because we love kids. But at the same time, we are so underappreciated. It's like school shootings happen. Now we have to be police. You know, we have to be the counselor. We have to be mommy. We have to be daddy. It's like, how much are you going to pile up on us until we can't handle it anymore? You know, I mean, I love my job and I would definitely take a bullet for my kids. I don't have my own children, but I would do that for them, you know, but at the same time, it shouldn't be asked of me. Kind of like teaching in a pandemic. It shouldn't be asked of me because I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm terrified. Like, I am, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm not, because, you know, so what if I'm healthy? You know, I also live at my 89-year-old grandmother's house and I take care of her, you know, and we had to ship her off to a lake house to keep her safe, you know, and it's not fair because she's not at her own house because she can't be, you know, and it's because of this virus. And I'm not going to pretend like everything's hunky dory when it's not.
Yeah. You know, I think you brought up a good point there too. Is, you know, I thought about that too. I haven't even been able to see my grandmother in 4 months because we're trying to protect her too. And I hate that because she lives like 1.5 miles from me. But I don't know that I could emotionally handle knowing that she got sick because of me. Like, I don't know if I'd ever recover from that. And so, you know, Jerry, based on all these things we've talked about, people's different opinions, especially who aren't in education, what's your response to them?
First, we love what we do, just like Courtney said. I mean, I have 20 years as a teacher, about 10 more years as an IA. I've done this all my life. I feel like I've made an impact. So I do want to help my kids. And I realize, again, that the best help that they're going to get is me being face to face with them. However, you know, I mean, there's so much at risk. I don't know that anybody else, you know, doctors, they, you know, that's quote unquote what they signed up for. We signed up to teach our kids, but we didn't sign up to work in a pandemic where we can hurt others. Even myself, I'm a diabetic, you know, so I'm at risk myself, you know, and I have to make a decision. Okay, do I go? You know, am I going to get something and bring back to my mom? You know, there's nowhere for me to quarantine. You know, I live here with her, you know, so then where do I go? You know, it's that kind of situation. But I mean, I love what I do. I love my kids. I still have communication with kids from the first year I started. You know, nobody doesn't want to go to work. I mean, that's what we do. You know, so for people to think lightly of that, to think that we just want an extended vacation, to think that half our salary should be cut because we don't want to go back, that's ludicrous. That doesn't make sense.
Well, and I think all of you would agree that it is way, way more work to teach virtually than it is to teach in person, right?
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. If you don't know what you're doing.
20-hour days.
See, and so that's what I think, you know, people think that, oh, we just want to stay home. It's like, God, no, like teaching virtually sucks. No. It's hard. It's exhausting to be in front of a computer more than it is to be in front of the kids. But before we jump into the last question, Katie, what do you say to people? Because I know, Katie, you're always so put together, so calm, so sweet. Like, you're always the one that I know, you know, you don't want to hurt anybody. And so, you know, what would you say to all those people with those different opinions?
It's hard, and like, I'm so on the fence about everything because I feel like there is no right answer going into this. Like, there's no one really knows. We still don't know what's going on. We do, but we don't. Like, there's no right or wrong, and so it's hard to have all these different opinions coming in because they are all just opinions. Like, nobody has told us we're not getting straight answers, and it's just so hard to, you know, and I think that the only thing I can say, and I'm not saying that we need to be full on face-to-face, but I think that I'm kind of on, if restaurants can be open and stuff like that, and people are going to that's the only thing that gets me, is like, I feel bad that I can't go teach if people can go eat. Like, it just is so weird because everything's so, I feel like there's no right answer right now, and it's just hard to grasp what's going on because there is no right or wrong.
You know, I think what you said right there hit the nail on the head. I don't know if there is a right answer, because no matter what answer we decide on, people are going to be angry. Some parents will say, you should have been there. You're an essential worker. Some teachers say, I don't care. I want to go there. Some teachers say, well, I don't really know what the right answer is. Other teachers say, my health is too important. Like, no matter what we do, there's so much uncertainty. And the other thing that adds on to the stress of teachers right now is that the stress of the administration, because our administrators can't make decisions either, because they're waiting on TEA, or they're waiting on government officials, or they're waiting on local officials. And so it's like, there's nobody in this right now who gets an easy decision. And that's where we've never been like that, where nobody knows the full answer, or at least how we're going to do this. So as we close out today, I'd love to just close this with people watching today. There may be parents, it may be educators, it may be administrators, but if they were to walk away with just one thing from this conversation, Courtney, what would your one thing be you hope they walk away with?
That we love our jobs and we will be there for the kids no matter what.
Carrie Ann?
I would say that we need people to advocate for schools just like we do. It takes everybody to do it. And I know people want to help, and they're sharing those Pinterest photos of DIY projects and rewatching old episodes of MacGyver to help make our classrooms safe. But we've got to stop normalizing underfunded schools. We've got to advocate.
Katie?
I just hope that everyone realizes that, like Courtney said, we love it. We love teaching. We want to be there for our kids, and every decision that we're making and everything we're saying is for the best interest for our students.
Olivia?
I would want parents to be patient with us. I know sometimes they feel it's our fault, or we're not helping, or we can't reply to whatever they need, but it's not all the decisions are on us. And it's not admin, it's higher. And I don't know if parents really realize that. Why don't y'all know? Why can't y'all give us answers? We're trying to figure out as much as just the way they are, we're trying to do the same thing. So I think patience is very important. We want to do the best. We want to go back. We want to help the kids. I mean, if we didn't want to do that, we wouldn't be teaching.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important.
Jerry?
I would say maybe trust, since everyone else has said something different. Trust us that we want to do what's best for the kids. Trust us that we will do what's best for the kids. That could go for anybody, from somebody who's not an educator to the administrators to the people that are making decisions. I feel like there were a lot of things put on us, maybe because they didn't trust us to do the things that we would do. But just know that, I mean, we do it every day. We've done it for years. Trust us that we're going to do our best to teach the kids, because if we don't, we're not successful. And I know all of us here, that's our goal, to be successful. We want to be the best at what we do. And so we're going to do that regardless of whether somebody's standing over us, watching us, or, we're being made to do 15 different logs to show what we're doing. Trust us that regardless of whether we're there in the face-to-face or whether we're virtual, that we're going to teach our children.
Well, I think all five of you closed with something very powerful and something for everybody to think about. And, when I thought about this conversation today, I knew so much that you five would be honest and be open and be real, which is the whole point of this new series. So from me to you, I got to say, I'm so thankful for your voices. I know that this year, regardless of what it's going to be for any of us, we're all still going to show up and give our best and make it the best we can make it. We love our kids. We love their parents. We love what we do. And so no matter how this happens and how things continue to change, I hope that everybody listening knows that educators are pouring everything they have into what they're doing right now. So go call a teacher, send them a note, message a colleague, and just tell them how much you appreciate them. I hope you've enjoyed this week's conversation on Real Talk. You can join every single week at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook or YouTube. Next week, it'll be a conversation about leaders leading during COVID-19. So we've heard the teacher perspective over what it's like during this time. What about the superintendents and principals and of private and public schools? What's going through their heads? So join me next week for a whole new episode. You five, thank you so much. I love y'all. I'm so thankful that y'all are in my life, and I'm so appreciative for your time.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.